Hey boys, welcome back to some Nrl Supercoach 2024 previews, and in this one, this will be the first of a series, I guess. But in the last video, I went through just a very quick, brief team that we just made up as soon as I had a quick look, so see what we could fit into the salary cap. But now we're going to get down to a bit more of the nitty gritty. We're going to look through position by position and discuss what sort of I'm looking at. Is there anyone of good value? What the play is, and we're going to be starting out with I was going to say a simple position, but it can be, but it also is it's a tricky position as well, the dummy half. So first and foremost, we got Harry Grant off the bat, right? 750k. He's substantially the most expensive dummy half. He's the best dummy half by far. I mean, he even there'd be people saying he had a down year, and he probably did. I remember specifically, he fucking, I think he got 31 in back-to-back weeks. He had a couple of, quite a few games where he scored substantially under 50, under 40 even, and it was very sort of Harry Grant but he still averaged 73.5, almost 10 points more than the next best of Damien Cook, who had a bit of a resurgence, old Cookie, who we did end up having last year and did pretty well for us. But Harry Grant is going to be the best again this year. I mean, it's just hard to think that another dummy half is really going to challenge him for the title of highest average, most points. He's just got it. Not only is he consistent, other than he did have a few lower scores, but he is consistently a high scorer. He does have the ceiling. That's the main thing that a lot of good dummy halves don't have nowadays in Supercoach. They don't really have that high ceiling like Harry Grant possesses. He can barge over for a couple of tries and go 120 plus. He can't. And this is the thing with dummy halves is, do you need to go with the most expensive? It is nice to have, if I had Harry Grant in the team, and if you had a Harry Grant in the team, you just hold him all year. Maybe you trade him out at the start of the origin period and then trade him back in at the end. So you're using 2 trades for your dummy half, but for the most part, he's going to be there for the whole thing, right? That consistency is nice, but at the same time, it's are you going to spend that much money, 750k, in a spot that, let's be real, you're probably never going to captain Harry Grant. I don't think I would ever feel confident captaining Harry Grant with some of the other high scorers in primarily halfback and fullback. It's just not worth it, because I know I just said that he does, out of most dummy halves, he does have a ceiling, but he doesn't have a consistent high ceiling, and his ceiling is 110, 120 tops, but other guys have shown 150, even more than that is possible. So I am very much leaning not going Harry Grant, just for the fact that you can save a lot of money, you can still score decent points, and you don't have to worry about the origin period with a few guys. But that's also, the origin is also a little bit of a troublesome spot, I guess, particularly for New South Wales dummy halves. We don't really know what the fuck is going to happen this year, so can't read into that too much. The other thing I was going to say with Harry Grant, despite the origin, he is very reliable at the same time. You look at a lot of the other guys, Marshall King and Wade Egan primarily were outstanding, especially Marshall King was fantastic, but he missed a lot of footy for a good chunk there. He did miss quite a bit of football, and it was an annoying sort of injury, because if you had him, it was sort of always like, okay, he's looking pretty good for this week, and then all of a sudden he'd be missing another couple of weeks. So that's the other important thing with the dummy halves, is that a couple of these guys, they are pretty, unreliable is not really the word, but they are a bit injury riddled, primarily, again, Wade Egan and Marshall King. But if we go through, Damien Cook obviously had a bounce back year. Now, he was good, and I did pick him up last year as my second dummy half for a good chunk, and it was great. But at the end of the day, if I was going to go Cook, I would just go Harry Grant. I think, I mean, again, when we get obviously when the actual team picker releases and we can get like the percentage own and the pods and stuff, like if Cook turns into like a super pod and you want to go a little bit something different, it's not the worst. You are saving almost 100k, but I still think if you're going to go the big price in the dummy half, you splurge just that little bit extra for Harry Grant. I think it is worth it. Marshall King, quite a bit cheaper. Not too much more, but he's 20k less than Cook. He averaged a tick over 62. I gotta be honest, out of like the top, out of these top three sort of price ranges, Marshall King does pique my interest. I think that the Dolphins have a good draw. I think they do have a bye in round 3, which is a little bit annoying, but if they have a bye in round 3 and then another team in like round 7, you're still missing the game. It's just, I guess it feels a bit worse having it in round 3 because of like price changes, and just early in the season, you don't want to have too many of your guns out for the, first couple of weeks. It's just a sort of, it's not really a genuine concern, but just in your thought, you're like, oh man, multiple players missing in the first couple of weeks, it just doesn't seem right. But Marshall King, I expect him to have another really good year. Again, the problem with Marshall King, he is a risk in terms of injury. Like, he's not, not even that he's not a big dummy half. Like if we look at most dummy halves, they're not big, but he just has a knack for picking up an injury. So it's not like an injury of like a Trebojevic or someone else where it's a muscle like strain or something like that. And those are like, I'm more likely to pick someone like a Trebojevic because it is a bit of bad luck. It obviously is genetics as well. Marshall King in the middle of the field obviously is going to take more knocks regardless. So that's where I do sort of have a little bit more of a discussion about like injury concerns. Marshall King, though, I do think is going to have a big year. It is just a bit annoying that he finished so well, that he stayed at such a high price, because that 640k again, it's a high price for a dummy half when you're not going one of the absolute, the premium of Harry Grant. But I think Marshall King, if he has a fully fit year, I think Marshall King can average around that 65 to 70, like similar to Cook of last year. Like, his running game was outstanding, his base stats were very good, and he's got some good forwards to run off him. The Dolphins, how are they going to go? I don't think that they are going to go better. I still don't think they might sneak into the top 8, but I don't think that really affects Marshall King, because the good thing about Marshall King, he doesn't really have like that playmaker that it's like demanding the ball, right? He doesn't have a Cleary, he doesn't have a Reynolds or someone like that demanding the footy. Like, when Marshall King sees something, obviously his halfbacks are going to be calling for it and demanding it, but it doesn't have the same level. So Marshall King, I think, has a bit more confidence to actually run the footy and take the line on when he sees it. So I think he's going to have another good year, but I think just with the early bye and also just the injury concern, I think I'm going to sway off him. Blake Brayley is a guy that I've seen a few people interested in. I don't know. He did average 56.8, not the worst. Like, it's pretty good, honestly. It's not terrible. He played 24 games, very consistent, very reliable. Blake Brayley. he gets through his... Okay, we're back. I don't know if the internet cut out or something. The page just died. Yeah, we're up to Blake Brayley. So I don't know. I'm just not a big fan. Like, he gets through his tackles. He misses quite a few. He doesn't really pose a threat with ball in hand. He gets quite a few like little barge over try assists because he does have a couple of big boppers. You know, Hemlin Ueli, Royce Hines. Those type of guys to just barge their way over. So he gets quite a few try assists, but I couldn't go with Blake Brayley because he doesn't run the footy. And like, he looks like a little quick, nippy guy. So every time I watch the Sharks, and maybe this is a case of like having that Nico Hines as the halfback, like demanding the footy. He feels like his job is to pass it to him, and that's probably fair enough. So he doesn't quite get involved in the attack as much as I would like. So I don't think I'd be going there. Wade Egan, I had Egan for a few weeks last year, and he did fantastic. But then, yeah, the head knocks just crippled him. I gotta be on. I'm similar to a Marshall King. I think Egan is also going to have another good year, and you sort of think that the head knocks are going to. He's not gonna have another like 3 head knocks this year. I mean, obviously you can't say that. Who knows? But out of him and Robson, I gotta be honest, if Wade Egan is like an absolute super pod, which I think he would be, yeah, I think he would be, because I think other people would just go even a Blake Brayley over Egan potentially, but I don't hate it, because the Warriors should be better. Their forward pack is still fucking incredible. Like, you still got Adam Finau-Blake, damaging Tohu Harris. You got all these big boppers. You got Johnson in the form of his life. Like, if Egan is picked and there's like no sort of specialist dummy half on the bench, I could definitely see myself taking a punt on Egan. Because even with, like, he played 19 games, which is actually a few more than I thought he might have with the head knocks. But I don't mind Egan. Api Coruscant, if for some reason Aiden Caesar isn't in the team and Api Coruscant would kick goals, then I could take a little punt on him. But I think I'd be shocked if Caesar isn't in the team. And if Caesar is in the team, he is definitely going to goal kick, because he's a genuine sharpshooter. Api was actually okay when he kicked last year, but Aiden Caesar is substantially better. So, I mean, I don't hate Api Coruscant, but yeah. I don't know. Appy, I don't know. There's a few. You can take a smoke. This is the thing. It's like, do you go with that Harry Grant safety, or do you take a bit of a punt on a Appy, on a Wade Egan? Next guy up, Reece Robson. I think Robson he's looking good to me, because Robson, again, the reliability. Obviously, he stuffed a few people around last year when he got fucking picked for Origin. Now, he could keep getting picked for Origin. Like, is he the next guy up? At this point, I guess he probably is. And if the Blues continue to go with 2 dummy halves, or if they start phasing Cook out and Robson is the man, then obviously that makes Robson a little less viable, because the beauty of a Robson was just that he played every game, he scored consistently, he's a tackle machine. He generally has pretty good attacking stats, but last year he was a bit missing, so I'm expecting a bit of a bounce back. But I don't know, the more I think about it, maybe he is just sort of the next guy for New South Wales, and that's where you do take the punt on an Egan, or even a Marshall King, Coruscant, potentially. I don't know, Robson he's starting to drop down the pecking order for me slightly, even though I do think he is going to be better than he was last year. Reed Marnie, no. I mean, he was so shit that he still averaged 53.7. The one thing you get out of Reed Marnie is that he scores in many different ways. Like, he is a fucking prolific 40-20 kicker. He kicked so many last year that bumped up his score. He does get quite a few try assists. He loves a short ball. He loves going himself. Last year, like, he had so many negative stats. Like, he missed so many tackles. And, like, he's never really been the best defender. Like, he's not terrible. Like, one-on-one, he can make a tackle, but he's probably one of the worst in the league as a dummy half defender, right? Like, he misses a lot. He gives away a lot of penalties. I don't know. I wouldn't go Reed Marnie because I'm going to have quite a few Bulldogs players, I think, anyway, but I don't know. He could be a sneaky one. Lachlan Croker, no. Chris Randall, absolutely not. Brandon Smith. So I think he started... What did he start last year? 450? He didn't change much. He did not change much in price from last year. He had a couple of good games. I'm trying to remember. He had a couple of sort of games where he scored a try, and you sort of thought, okay, Brandon Smith is getting back to his form, and then he'd dish up another shocker. I don't know. Connor Watson he's gonna be back. Hopefully he's good to go. I love Connor Watson. So if he's on the bench, I mean, they might use Connor Watson through the middle, but I do think, like, the thing with Smith is not going to play 80 minutes at dummy half. He's just not. Like, it's just not going to happen. So you got a guy as good as Connor Watson coming off the bench. It's just going to eat into Brandon Smith's minutes. And at the end of the day, Brandon Smith, he's going to have the odd game where he scores 70 plus, 80 points with a try, but the rest of them are going to be around that 40 points. I really don't see him averaging much more than 45 to 50 because of the minutes. Like, he's not going to consistently get 70 points. Like, it's just not going to happen for Smith. So as much as we were all sort of on him last year, I just, the more you sort of think about it, it's like, no, he's just not going to really be that. He's not going to be one of the top dummy half point scorers, which is fine. He's just going to be middle of the road. So not going there again. Crossland, obviously, we'll get to a guy in a second, but it's very interesting for the dummy halves for the Knights. You're obviously not going to go Crossland, but it throws a bit of a spanner in the works. Sammy Verrills. So I was really keen on starting Verrills last year. I had him in my team for like a good chunk of the preseason, but thankfully I didn't start with him. Actually, I think he started pretty well his first couple of games, but he got injured very early on. Missed a lot of footy. Did he get another injury like later? I think he may have. But he looked good. He's another guy similar to a Marshall King, but I guess Marshall King wasn't really injury prone until last year. So I don't want to say injury prone. I think it's more just he had an injury last year that just wouldn't quite heal. Sam Verrills is injury prone. Like, at the Roosters, he couldn't string seasons together. He's gone to the Titans. He can't do it again. Again, I think Verrills poses a really good value, but you just cannot be confident in starting Verrills. And the problem with a 460k guy is that if he gets injured early on, you can trade him out, but it's like, who do you trade him to? You'll have to, if you didn't have money saved up, you'd have to free up cash to go up to someone good, or you maybe go to a cheaper guy, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't take the risk with Verrills. I mean, if you want to be ballsy, I think Verrills does pose really good value, but don't love it. Little Walters, Ray Stone actually got the 420. He started as I don't think he was a genuine cheat. I think he was like 250, so he actually made some pretty good money. Mitch Kenny, fucking how does a guy playing in like the best team in the last fucking 5 years average fucking less than 40 points, bro? He plays like 80 minutes every game too. It's not like he's playing 40. He does get a spell occasionally, but he plays big minutes. That's crazy. just not a Supercoach dummy half, that is for sure. Connor Watson. So Connor Watson 375. They've done him dirty with the average or the price. I was thinking Watson might be a cheap option you could maybe pick up if he was going to play big minutes through the middle or like decent minutes, but 375k, he would need to play pretty decent minutes. I mean, he is a guy that if he plays 40 minutes off the bench, he could easily average 50 plus, like easily, like compared to like a I mean, honestly, if I was going to go Brandon Smith, I would just go Connor Watson, even if Connor Watson was on the bench to start. I think potentially Watson would split the minutes with Smith, and I think Connor Watson's game is far better for Supercoach, but obviously he hasn't played in a long time, so I wouldn't be starting with him, unless, I don't know, unless he jagged a starting spot. I'd keep an eye on him, but yeah, Connor Watson, potentially one for the future, pending a couple of injuries to the Roosters boys, and if he comes back fit, you never know. Saliva Havili, Tom Starling, Zach Wolford, fucking the Raiders dummy half stocks. I've got him at the moment, Danny Levi. They got Tom Starling, Zach Wolford, all 350k. Like, he's we'll see what happens there. Brennan Hands for the Parramatta Eels is a decent cheapy option, or cheapish option. Does he play 80 minutes? Like, who else do the Eels have at dummy half? I don't think they signed anyone. They might have another young guy coming through. Or they probably do, but if Brennan Hands can play 80 minutes, then I mean, at 340k, that's a really good value. Jaden Brayley as well, he's 330k. This is what I was talking about with Phoenix Crossland, because Phoenix Crossland obviously played the remainder of the season when Brayley was out, and he was sensational. I mean, I think Crossland is a fantastic utility. I mean, honestly, I don't know. From what I saw, I actually think Crossland potentially is a better dummy half than Brayley. I mean, I know Brayley has had injury concerns, but I don't know. I'm a bit of a Brayley hater, dude. I don't think Jaden or Blake are that good. I know they're talked up as like these fucking incredible hookers coming through, but I think Blake is pretty overrated. I always thought Jaden was better. And again, yeah, he's had his injury concerns. If he gets a start, I think him or Brennan Hands could very easily be great cash cows in that dummy half spot to make some good money. Yeah, it's just sort of a flip of the coin to see, because again, if Crossland is on the bench, then there is, I don't know. I mean, Brayley in the past has always been an 80-minute dummy half. He's sort of that. He's very similar to his brother in that he doesn't run the ball too much, but he is a far better defender and he makes a lot more tackles. So he's a pretty safe 50-point player if he's playing big minutes, but is he playing that many minutes? That's the issue. So got to wait and see. Any other cheapish guys? I know there is a couple. I mean, Sonny Luke. Is anybody going to take the punt on Sonny Luke? I thankfully I never went Sonny Luke. Honestly, after, I think it was the World Cup, he was fucking atrocious. Like, he obviously had a couple of good moments in attack, but he was getting, I remember games like so well in that World Cup where he was getting absolutely like dominated in every tackle. Like, he was getting bumped off nearly every time, and I was like, there is no shot Sonny Luke is like up to NRL standard playing big minutes at dummy half, and he wasn't. He just did not play big minutes at all. He came on, he scored a couple of okay scores when he came on with a try or something, but yeah, a lot of people just were stuck holding Sonny Luke, which thankfully I was not. Then we got, Gordon Chan Kum Tong from the Manly boys. He had a couple of good scores when he played last year. He's 238k. I mean, I guess you can throw in Talon De Silva here as well. A couple of good young kids coming through. I mean, Gordon. I mean, the thing is that Lachlan Croker is just so solid that I don't think Gordon is going to take the spot off him anytime soon, and even if he gets a bench spot, he's not going to play big minutes. He is an impact player, so, you know, him at 230 or, you know, a Brayley at 330, Brayley just plodding along getting like 40, 50, Gordon maybe getting 15, 20, but then going like 50, 60 at 100k less. I don't know. Probably not. It's probably still not worth it, but you never know. Kurt Donahue, also good young kid at the Dolphins. We got Danny Levi at the moment. I mean, that's probably not going to stick. I do think, yeah, if you're going to go Danny Levi, you probably would just rather go either Brennan Hands or Brayley, because they're noted playing bigger minutes, and Danny Levi is not going to play big minutes with either Tom Starling or Zach Wolford on the bench, or Danny Levi's on the bench and Zach Wolford starts. You don't know. And then that's pretty much it. There's no other super cheapies. Jaden Barrell is a very good dummy half that the Sharks picked up, but that they're obviously just going to keep playing Brayley, so Barrell just is not going to get a shot. So, and I guess Blake Moser as well there. He's definitely not going to. I mean, he might play a couple of games this year, but he's not going to be a mainstay at the Bronx unless there's a couple of injuries there in the dummy half spot. Because I actually think everyone is way too harsh on Billy Walters. Even obviously people turned around a bit at the back end of last year, but I was always a pretty high Billy Walters fan. Like, I always thought he was pretty good. Even at the Tigers, I thought he was good. So it's nice to see him doing well. So yeah, there's. The dummy halves are interesting. Like, there are a couple of good high range. There's definitely some good sort of middling 550, 500, 550. Especially, you know, at the moment, Robson, Appy potentially, Wadey. I gotta be honest, I'm starting to think maybe Wade Egan is a bit of a smoky. Like, he just runs the ball a lot, and he loves passing it to Fanua Blake to score a try. Oh, I don't know. That's a risky play though. I think Robson is also pretty good. I do think I definitely understand people going Harry Grant, and I would not try to sway anyone not going Harry Grant. I think it's a good pickup, but for me, I think saving like 200k. Even more potentially, like, I mean, honestly, if Brennan Hands and Jaden Brayley had a starting dummy half spot, do you go two sort of cheapish options in dummy half to make cash, free up cash elsewhere? Maybe not. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I'm leaning towards. I honestly don't know. Honestly, I'm leaning towards at the moment going Wade Egan over Robson, and then probably Jaden Brayley over Danny Levi. But Brennan Hands could be the guy as well. But I think Brayley's probably a better dummy half than Brennan Hands at the moment. So that's my first thoughts. But yeah, that's sort of the dummy halves done and dusted. There's not too much else to say. I think any of the guys around that 550 range, Robson, even Brayley, like any of these guys, yeah, they're all probably gonna average around the same. Like I'm trying to look at like who is going to go better, and I do think Wade Egan, because like I know people will keep bringing up like he scored so many tries, but he also had like quite a few games where he got knocked out and he played like fucking no minutes. Like his scores got dropped, his average got plummeted because of games like that. So people always bring up like, oh, he scored heaps of tries, but he also had games where he played like so few minutes. So the average, I think, is about level, maybe even a bit under. So I think Egan can potentially increase. I do think Robson can increase. Api Coruscant, I actually do think potentially as well. I thought at the start of the year last year he was a bit how you going, but he sort of came into that sort of being somewhat of the main man at the Tigers at the back end of the season. I thought he was pretty good. So yeah, there's a couple of value, and I think going some more value in the dummy half is more pressing than Harry Grant. But you know, at the end, when we get to the fucking crunch time, dude. If there's more cheapies pop up and I've got cash to spare, you can definitely see me upgrading a Robson to Harry Grant in a heartbeat. So we'll see if I walk the talk there. But hopefully, you guys are enjoying the Supercoach action. Make sure to like and comment. We'll be doing the front row forwards in the next video. So hopefully, you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys then.